Are you starting a new Gloomhaven campaign? Are you a bit confused out of which starting characters of the 6 you should pick depending on your playing style? Well, not to worry, we are here to help you with that, to give you a light overview of each of the 6 starting characters and help you choose which one to continue with.
Remember guys, if you're liking these videos, please don't forget to like and subscribe as it helps our channel grow. But for now, 6 characters coming up.
First up is the Brute. Now he has 10 hit points. He carries a hand of 10 cards and we class him really as difficulty easy. He is a simple character to play with. Now his role is melee tank, so if you like getting up and personal in these scenarios, we might be on to something here. So as I mentioned, he is melee and he does have a couple of range cards, but that is all really. Same as healing, he has minor heals, but he's not classed as a healer. So you do want to pair him with someone in your team that you're playing with that can support him. He has a couple of AoE target multiple enemy cards, so he can create damage to more than one enemy, which is great. His initiative is medium to late, so you will find in most scenarios he will be going around that time frame. There is a couple of exceptions where he does have lower initiative cards to kind of get in there first, but essentially if you want to be a quick character, don't go for this one. He's got a few defensive abilities, so he can shield, which is great, and also he can manipulate enemies using abilities such as push and pull, so he's a bit of a bully really, but essentially you don't need to plan ahead with him. He is really easy to use, he takes damage, he deals damage, but yeah, he needs a plaster once in a while. But we would say if you prefer a range character, Bruce is not for you.
Next we have the Crackheart, one of my personal favourites. The Crackheart has a health of 10, he has a starting hand of 11 cards, and he's kind of easy to play, I'd say. I class him as an easy level. So he is a multifunctional character, he's got it all. He can be a bit of a tank, he can be a bit of a range damage dealer, a melee damage dealer, he can even heal. And he's got a few AoE attacks as well, so you'll be having a blast if you pick him. He's got a bit of everything. So he works well with the earth element, so if you've got a friend that can create this element between rounds, you'll be having a blast with him. He also does deal damage to allies. Careful not to be standing in the firing line when the Crackheart goes, because the chances are he might end up doing some friendly fire here. He has the opportunity as well to manipulate obstacles and also create obstacles. So what the Crackheart can do is quite unique. He can create an obstacle and throw it around the map. May be useful to deal damage to enemies, or it may be useful to kind of hold enemies off and manipulate the map a little bit so you're hiding behind cover. His initiative is sort of slow to middle. He does have an opportunity with a few early cards, but again, just like the Brute, you're not going to be going very quick with the Crackheart, but I feel like his role kind of makes up for that. So if you like a strategical character and you like to kind of create your plays before they happen, kind of recommend the Crackheart for you. I mean, he's got a bit of everything, so if you're indecisive about what you want to play and what role you want to take on, I mean, Crackheart's your man, he's got a bit of everything.
Next up is the Mind Thief. Now he has hit points of 6, so he is one of the lower starting characters with lower health. He does hold 10 cards, but his difficulty is definitely one of the hardest starting characters. But if you can nail it, good for you. So he is a melee class character. You ideally want to use him for hit and runs, so he needs to go in there, attack and run away, because he is a little rat for a reason. Now he does have the ability to summon, so essentially he's got to rely on someone else because he just can't deal with it, but it's fine. He does have an augment system where you can plan in advance, so essentially you can set an augment which can do things such as extra damage and things on attacks in further rounds to come, and that augment doesn't exhaust until you swap it for another one if that's what you choose to do. He can mind control enemies, which is good. So although he's a rat, he is smart. His initiative is pretty early. It has to be for him to actually have a chance. Now, ideally, you want to pair him with essentially a tank, because they're going to need to take the damage while this little rat is trying to deal some from left and right. But yeah, if you like the idea of a challenge, again, he's strategical. You need to plan ahead with him, and to be honest, he will take some getting used to. But once you're used to him, he's interesting to play. So yeah.
Up next, we've got the Tinkerer. He has HP of 8. He has a hand size of 12, so one of the biggest in the starting characters. And I class him as medium to easy to play, to be honest. So his role is a support and a healer. So don't expect to do massive damage with this guy, or tank. So one of his main abilities is to buff himself and allies around him. So he can do that with shields or damage, which is quite useful in scenarios. He has many ranged abilities. Now this is a good thing because if you get him close to enemies, he's going to disintegrate very fast. However, his ranged abilities are pretty useful, and he's got a lot of different varieties that can apply conditions as well, which make it very effective. He does kind of hang back from the danger, so you want to put him at the back, behind everyone else, maybe hide behind a Crackheart or a Brute. Ideal. His initiative is early to medium. He does have a few opportunities to go very late, but mostly you can go medium to early with this guy. You kind of want to get in there, buff or heal your teammates, and then get out of the danger zone and let them take care of everything else. He is weaker in smaller teams, so if you have a 2-player game, don't really recommend him unless you want a challenge. He can buff people very well though, so again, if you like a challenge and you like the sound of this guy or what he can give you, go for it. So to round it up, his playstyle is very strategical. You're going to plan to help your allies, heal your allies, and maybe apply some conditions to the enemies, again to assist your allies in taking them down. But don't expect to do big damage with this guy. However, keep him alive, play strategical, you've got a winner on your hands.
So next up we have the Scoundrel. Now she has hit points of 8, she has a hand size of 9 cards, and her difficulty is easy/medium. She is classed as a melee rogue character. Good use of poison. She has a few cards that allows her to poison enemies, which is really good when setting up these characters for your fellow teammates to attack. Her initiative is pretty quick, to be fair, which is another benefit because this allows her to swoop in there, poison these enemies first, and then get away and watch the rest of her teammates attack these enemies with a condition on them already. She does have a couple of ranged abilities, but essentially she is just a melee character class. A lot of her cards rely on either the presence or absence of allies, so she can do extra damage to a monster if that monster is adjacent to any of the monster's allies, or she can do damage if the monster is adjacent to any of her allies in regards to, you know, your other players in the campaign. So plan where to move with this character because it will really depend on how much damage you're actually capable of doing with her. So although we do class her as easy, she can be quite challenging as you have to have more strategy when moving her around. But to be honest, stick with other players, stick with your team members, and hopefully this will be an enjoyable one for you.
Last but not least, we have the Spellweaver. So she has a HP of 6 and a hand size of 8. The lowest out of the bunch, but she has that for a good reason. So let's get into it. So I class her as a hard character to learn, to be honest. One of the more difficult ones out of the starting 6. So she casts spells that affect multiple enemies with most of her cards, which is pretty good. So she's got the AoE thing going there. She does have good range damage abilities, so even if it's a single target, the output of her damage is pretty high for a starting character. She plays with all elements, so if you've got characters that can create these elements for you and she can use them to benefit her attacks, then you've got a good thing going there, so keep that up. She does have low health, so you do want to avoid the front line, of course. Being a wizard, Spellweaver, they're never going to be a tank. You want to keep them behind and shoot from far away. She does have slow initiative, a few cards that can go quite quick. However, you don't really want to be going early anyways. You kind of want to be going last, staying at the back and picking those enemies off that your teammates are leaving. Now, the unique thing about the Spellweaver is a lot of her cards you do have to burn them after you've used the good abilities on them, but she does have a card that allows her to get all of her burn cards back, which is really useful. So if you play effectively and use all your burn cards in a certain order, save that last one to the end, you'll be able to get that whole pile back and have another whole turn without without resting. So the kind of breakdown for the Spellweaver is she's kind of complex to learn. I don't recommend it if it's your first ever time playing this game. However, once you've used a few other characters, definitely give it a go because it is very fun once you get used to it. So yeah, I'd say it's very complex. You need to plan ahead, plan your cards and how you use them, and kind of stay behind your teammates, giving them the support that they need, but make sure they create those elements for you because they will benefit very well. So there's a very quick breakdown of the starting 6 characters in Gloomhaven.
Now, if you're new to this game and you struggle to pick which character to use and this video has helped you, or you have a different opinion, please let us know which character you went for. We always love to hear from you.
Yeah, and remember to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this kind of content. We have just recently placed a very bulky board game order, so stay tuned, subscribe, hit the notifications because a lot more games will be coming your way.
We'll be bugging you soon.
See you guys, take care.